is Scott Rosen and with the Rosen Group, and we are very excited this morning to have Melissa Severance doing a webinar on tips for powerful self-empowerment with meditation for leadership. And we also are here with Steve Cohen, the founder and leader of Meditation for Leadership. And we're excited to have everybody here, and it'll be a really power-packed, information-packed session this morning. So just a little bit about the Rosen Group. We are a staffing firm that specializes in placing HR folks. Been in business for about 28 years now. And we place both contract and direct hire HR professionals. And we also work with some partners, including Meditation for Leadership, which provide different services, tech consulting, leadership for executives through Meditation for Leadership, and coaching partnerships as well. We also have founded and run several different programs. One is the HR Department of the Year Awards, which is an annual program to recognize HR functions for their best practices. And we run a executive group for HR professionals called HREA, and also a professional group for talent acquisition leaders called TALA. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve, if you're willing to introduce yourself and maybe just talk a little bit about Meditation for Leadership, and then you can hand it off to Melissa if you're open to that.
Sure. I love the title of this presentation about self-empowerment, because really that's what it's all about. And to me, as an HR leader, and what I've seen as a in my career, that if HR can hand people tools that allow them to empower themselves, then you can really make a positive impact. And what we often say at Meditation for Leadership is you can start the ripple. And our mission is to build skills and enhance wellness by teaching meditation and mindfulness practices. But the magic of our programs is it also comes with performance enhancement. So we go a step beyond wellness to how you can self-empower yourself in order to develop the leadership skills that allow you to succeed. Next slide. And the good news is it's worked. So we're now in our 30th month at Verizon, working with their administrative group. And we do a monthly virtual program. We've gone into other companies and done sort of half-day seminars, followed by monthly virtual programs, as well as started with intro programs and moved forward. And we're really finding a very positive impact and would love to be able to talk with you about those types of programs. We also have one-on-one mentoring when people need that, as well as executive coaching. And Melissa Severance is one of our fine executive coaches. One of the things that I think is very appealing about Melissa is that she has an HR background in addition to a mindfulness background, and now an executive coaching background, and works with both HR leaders themselves in executive coaching, as well as working with the executives who are your constituents. So without further ado, I will turn this program over to Melissa. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Steve. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Since there's probably a lot of faces out there that I'm new to, I'm going to give a little bit more of an intro, just so you get a little bit more detail about me and why this topic is so important to me. And I feel like it's one of my favorites to talk about, and I have so much passion about it. So I'm Melissa Severance. I am an executive leadership career coach. I also do team coaching. I do HR consulting. I also do customized training and speaking. So I like to do a lot of things that I have passion about. So this is actually my third chapter in my career. Started out actually as an accountant, worked at Ernst & Young for 5 years. Realized I really enjoyed people more than the numbers, and I knew I needed to do something different. So I jumped out of that and went into human resources, where I worked for 15 years. And I was really lucky to join a firm that was growing from 100 professionals to 1,000 during my career, and really got to be in HR leadership during that ride. And then during that time, I realized I needed something a little different. An experience happened to me that made me know that I had to do my third chapter of my career, which is coaching. And I jumped into being a solo entrepreneur. And the reason I put this picture on my slide, on my intro, is because it really was when I determined I wanted to be where I'm at today. It was the trip that really got me there. I was on a solo trip during my birthday week to Palm Springs. Wanted to go to this yoga conference that I didn't get anybody else that wanted to go with me at that time. But I really wanted to go, and I knew it was important to me. So I went out, even though it was over my birthday week. And the night of my birthday, I went out to dinner to this nice Italian restaurant, sat at the bar, and met somebody that actually changed my life. Somebody with one conversation that told me that I'm missing my calling. I should be doing something different. I should be doing coaching. And at the time, that was the first time somebody kind of put that into my mind. The gentleman I was sitting next to was probably in his late 80s, was a coach, was a therapist, did a lot of different, different kind of consulting in those areas. And he realized this was something that I had skill in, that I would be good in. And at that time, I was like, I've never thought about it. But by the end of the trip, I couldn't get out of my head. This was one of the last days I was there, and I realized I'm ready to take a leap. This is going to be my third chapter in my career. I'm going to be a solo entrepreneur. I'm going to start doing coaching, training, all the things that I'm really passionate about and I really enjoy in my career. So during the journey, I've done a lot of different things, and that's why I kind of have a couple offerings that I'm really passionate about. And one of them is mindfulness. And that's where I started my relationship with meditation for leadership. We both have the same kind of mission of really introducing people to mindfulness. Really think it's worthwhile to be in the workplace for everybody to be their best self. So that's why this is so important to me, empowerment, because realizing you want to go do something and actually getting there is the reason why we need to practice self-improvement, self-empowerment. And it's actually, there's a new term right now out there called career cushioning. I don't know if any of you guys have really used it yet, but it's really helping people, or helping yourself, I should say, really getting to the next level in your career, focusing on that, not just for your current role you're in, but thinking about the future. So many things have changed in the last 2 to 3 years, and the economy keeps changing. Different factors come into play, and especially with HR, we had so much on our shoulders the last few years with the pandemic and Great Resignation. So we need to make sure that we're thinking about ourselves and our employees and helping them get to the next level in their career with their professional development. So hopefully today, when we're talking about this topic of self-empowerment, the actions you need to take, think about it from your perspective. It's time to talk or think about yourself. You can definitely bring this stuff in and bring it into your teams, into your organization, a lot of these concepts. But I realized, as being an HR professional and being around so many of them going through, the hard time of COVID, implementing things that we never had to do before. And it seems like there's more challenges coming, every day. And the HR world has been so stretched and burned out that sometimes we're not thinking about ourselves. So I sent a worksheet out. You can go through a lot of the questions, a lot of the topics for you to really think about and start realizing what you want in your future, how you're going to really use that self-empowerment to get to the next level. So we'll talk about the importance today. We'll also talk about some key focus areas that I think are a start for you to get there. And also, before we leave, we're going to make sure you have a personal development plan all set and go. And I would love to make sure that I get as much participation. So I'd love for you to put anything in the chat, or if you have any comments, questions. I know Scott is going to be looking at those and sharing them and chiming in, because I love to hear your thoughts on these topics we're going to be talking about. So So why self-empowerment? Why is it so important? In my practice, the reason why I had chief people or dream officer, I should say, I know it's a little bit different title, is because I really love helping people find what their goals and big dreams are and going after it. And what I'm finding out that most of all, when I work with my clients, is people aren't dreaming big enough. People aren't going after it. They're not taking action. They're staying comfortable. So we need to empower ourselves and take action. And you might say, what kind of action do you need? It's probably stuff you're doing all the time, but you have to do it more intentionally. You got to take control, have the growth, learning, experience, and exposure to really get you there. You need to take steps towards achieving the things that you really want. I think a lot of us put our dreams and goals on the back burner the last couple of years. It's now time to, bring them back out, bring them into the light, and start working towards them, even if it's baby steps. You need to put your position, you need to be in a position of strength. You need to really move forward personally and professionally. And when you do that, you're going to move further and faster. We just have to take the leap, go there and go to the next level. So where are we going to go? We're going to leap into our growth zone. And this is really where the magic happens. I feel a lot of us have stayed in the comfort zone because there's been so much change and the change has been forced on us. But now we have to take control and make our own change and go to the next level. You've heard the saying, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. We really need to start living our life more. It's time to get back into the real world, go after your goals that we've been pushing off. You need to stretch and go further. I think a lot of times we're not doing that, and we need to do that. And today, that's all what it's about. So when you're thinking about things, try to think a step further than what you've done before in the past, what you've already been thinking about your goals and dreams. How can you make them bigger? How can you go to the next level? Sky's the limits, really. And I think when you do that, you're going to realize that so many more paths are going to be open for you. So how do we start that? It's really developing that growth mindset. Without having that mindset, you're not going to dream big, you're not going to initiate change, and you're not going to take bold actions. These are some of these questions on here are kind of, I think, some of the toughest questions. In different parts of your life, you might have some of them that you have more clarity with, but in most cases, do you know what you want in your future? Do you know what your goals and big dreams are? And I think this one's really the hardest one. What do you want in your life in the next year, which is the easiest, but what about in 5 years or 10 years? Are you really able to, put that on paper or say it out loud to people, what you really want? I go through this exercise every quarter, and my old firm, we used to do it all as a firm together, kind of answer a lot of these questions and what we were going to do each quarter kind of to meet our goals in the next year or do something for our future goals in 5 to 10 years. And I realized, I was working in an accounting consulting firm in the HR function, and, this was, for a lot of them, they had maybe keep progressing, maybe become a CFO one day, but in most cases, there's so much more. There's so many different avenues that can help you, really be a better person personally and professionally. So asking these questions, getting some clarity is really what's needed. And for me, I realized that it changed a lot. Even 6 months in, my yearly goals have changed. They were increased. They were possibly totally different. I added some things to the paper. And maybe the vision of my 5 years and 10 years got more clarity. I was able to put more things down. And I still practice this today. Each quarter I'm going through and seeing my goals and seeing how far I've gotten and what I want to change. I did not know that I wanted to be a coaching professional until that Palm Springs trip. So that was never on my list for many, many years until about 5 years ago. But now I have my own practice. I'm doing coaching and consulting, working with HR leaders, entrepreneurs, executives, working with teams, organizations, and I'm living my dream. So one of the things with all of my clients is, not really reaching for the stars. And that's why I love this quote, and that's why I put it on here. The greatest danger for most of us is not our aim is too high and we miss it, but it's too low when we reach it. So we really need to have that growth mindset, think bigger and better, and start going after it, even if it's little goals. And some people out here say, I don't have any really big goals. It's possible that you don't, but just start little. And even if it's just small goals of being more exposed to certain meetings, or trying to get a seat at the table at different locations, or being considered, or having certain conversations, or building certain relationships, whatever it is, even if it's starting small, it really matters. And it'll help you get to the next level. So where do we start at? My first focus area, I think what is the most important is self-awareness, getting to know yourself. And there's a lot of questions on here that I think that will help you do that. And maybe you know the answer to all these questions, and maybe you don't. And if you don't, the best way to get more self-awareness is to ask others that are really close with you, maybe personally and professionally, people in your family, people that you're close to. Maybe also ask, your colleagues, your peers, maybe your supervisor. Maybe you haven't asked these because you've been thinking about your team and your organization, and you haven't really thought about you. These are good questions to really realize, what you need to start making your goals and dreams come true. That's self-awareness. A lot of people do self-assessments. I love to hear any self-assessments that people, really think are great and they've been using. One thing that, I use a lot of is StrengthsFinder, and I'm also certified in Productive Index. And I know Meditation for Leadership uses emotional intelligence. All of them are great, but the great thing about them is they're giving you a little bit more detail, a little bit of summary that is really going to highlight your unique abilities. And that's what you really need to figure out the great things that you have and the things that the opportunities that you need to build on and grow. And when you focus on all these things, you're going to get more of a true picture of yourself, what you're bringing to the table, what your strengths are, and things that you need to focus on for your big dream journey. Scott, did anybody share anything yet before we keep going?
I have not seen anything in the Q&A, but feel free to make a comment or ask a question. And I know, Melissa, you did send out a form, right, for people to complete. So if you have any observations for yourself about that, if you had a chance to complete it, you can share that as well. But nothing yet.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Please. I love to, always from these, everybody learns from each other. So it's great when we have some comments and participation. So these questions too that are on the screen for the self-awareness, some of this stuff is very similar to the HR concepts of stay interviews, asking your employees really, what they want to grow with, what they need to get to the next level. And I think sometimes I really encourage stay interviews, but I encourage it within check-ins, like throughout your, interaction with your employees. It doesn't have to be one set thing that you're going to be doing with your employees, but you're going to be doing it without every interaction, asking one key question, so we can really, determine what they want to do and how they can stay at the firm. Well, you should be doing the same thing to yourself, asking these key questions so what do I need to do for my current role? What do I need to do for maybe the next role I'd have in the firm? And what would I do for any other position out there that I would maybe want someday? And the future for me. And sometimes it's following a hobby that goes into something else. And sometimes it's following what you're doing in your current job and doing something that makes you perform it better. But these questions are, really helpful on you getting things that you really need to focus on that might go into that, things like accomplishments and goals for the next year. If you really can't figure out what you want to put on there, these goals are so important, or these questions. So really putting goals out there for you to do. Okay. Now, training, I think this is probably the most important thing. I'm a learner. I love to learn. I'm always learning. And I'm sure everybody on the call here has different initiatives for their firms to continue professional development and training. I know a lot of you guys probably have done your SHRM certification or your HRCI. I, still encourage, going to the next level and doing certifications. I recently did my second coaching certification and became a PCC. So I'm always doing different trainings, different learnings, and we all need to figure out, what else we need to learn, experience, and be exposed to get to that next level. And it doesn't have to be certifications, it doesn't have to be something that you put money out to. And your firm might have tons of things to offer. And I'm sure you're always promoting it to your employees, but are you taking advantage of it as yourself, as an HR professional? I love LinkedIn Learning. I'm always on there. They have these bite-sized learnings on different topics. Even if I'm training on certain things, I always love different perspectives on how people are presenting content. So I'm on there a lot. I'm a big article girl. I read articles all the time. I'm not really good at books. I can't finish them. I start them and I get halfway through them. So I have tons of books that I've been halfway through. But I just found a new resource called Summary.com that summarizes a lot of the books out, the new trending business books. So that might be something you guys might want to check out because it's been helpful to me for somebody that I can't finish a book. But I'm always looking at articles. I'm listening to podcasts now. You might be following hashtags, but also think of outside the box ideas about job shadowing, observing meetings, asking for special projects. You know, the biggest thing people can do is say no. And most people just are not asking the question to do things. I know all of us in HR are trying to continue to have a bigger seat at the table. Asking for things like this will really get you there. Thinking outside the box, doing things along those lines that'll really allow you to, you know, show you have more to offer, and seeing what other things you need to get under your belt to make sure you can keep progressing in the way you want your career to go. Anything in the comment or anything like that yet? Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything.
Yes. So we had a question about sharing the slides after the presentation. Are you comfortable with that?
Absolutely. I love that.
Okay. So we will send the slides. And also there's a question from Spencer Broad asking about LinkedIn Learning. Spencer, do you want us to unmute you and give you an opportunity to ask your question? And Linda, you have the ability, or Larry, to unmute participants, correct?
Yep,
Hello.
Spencer's there.
Hi,
Okay.
how are you?
Hey, Spencer.
Good to hear both of you. Could you just give a few comments about LinkedIn Learning? I was not familiar with that. I'm looking at it now and just kind of curious as to what that is and how best to utilize it.
Yeah, I think it's with the basic. I do have a Premier package because I'm on there a lot for my business
Right.
and interacting. I feel like LinkedIn has turned into my new texting. I'm on direct messaging all the time. But there should be a section on the top that says learning on the corner on the right. And what they have is all different little courses and videos that you can take part in on different topics. You can search whatever you want and get some information on it. And the reason I like it is most of them are bite-sized, or they have different. If it is a couple hours, it's in segments. So you can do one and come back to it.
Okay.
You know, and you can put goals in there, so it'll keep reminding you to go do some trainings in there, which I know we always get so busy.
Right.
We're trying to do everything, you know, we can to kind of get that time in. So I definitely think it's really a nice way of starting
Okay.
your learning journey in a small way.
Thank you, because I'm exactly the opposite. I read books. So, you know, you mentioned that you have a lot of half-completed books around, and I'm a book reader, and I don't usually read in as many articles or little bite-sized pieces. So this sounds interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I love LinkedIn, because I go there and follow hashtags, and just the people I follow share amazing articles that I probably would have not noticed. And you get a free amount of articles on LinkedIn if you're not, you know, each month, and then it renews. So, you know, say you Harvard's Business Review, you know, you might be able to see one or two of them, and then you can't see another one till the next month if you don't have a subscription. But if you have a subscription, you can read the whole article. But if you're able to see news in a lot of different areas, which I think is nice as well, from different perspectives in your network. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Spencer. I think we're clear for now, Melissa.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so we need to upskill, reskill, and, you know, develop new skills to really be, everything's changing all the time now, right? So we need to make sure we're up and coming with different things. I never thought I'd be working in Canva, but I'm doing that all the time because I'm doing marketing for myself as an entrepreneur. You never know what you really need, as I'm very lucky that I have a accounting finance degree. So that part of my business has been really easy for me to transition into, but you're always changing and evolving. And in every role, you never know what the new tools and things you might need. So really figuring that out and taking the steps to get it is really important. So this is my favorite one, relationship building. I do believe that relationships matter and they can change your life. That one conversation I had that I described in my intro in Palm Springs at that dinner did change my life. And I do think every conversation can do that. You just don't know in that time what you're getting out of it. You don't know what idea you're getting. You don't know what's going to spark until maybe later on in your life, but it all comes back to you. And that's why having these relations, having communication is so important. And relationships are a choice, right? You got to figure out who you want to develop a relationship with. And when you do figure out who you want to develop, these are all the amazing things you're going to get from it. There's so many benefits. For me, I get a lot of confidence talking to people, especially in areas that I have a lot of, knowledge in. When we're talking about something like that, it's great for me. And then it also gives me inspiration to continue to do what I'm doing. And of course, ideas and fresh input is amazing too. Everybody has a different perspective and everybody, can give you something new. It might not be something you agree with, but it might be something to note for when you're doing an activity or when you're going after your dreams or your next goal. Getting input from others is very valuable in your next step. And so, one thing that I did at my old firm and implemented that I still do today is, developing a relation contact plan. I know in most roles in sales, they probably have it, but I do feel every professional should have it. It's people that you really want to develop that relationship with, and you want to get to the next level with. And the reason I started this is actually from listening to a podcast, I guess it was a TED Talk at that point, but I think the concept was on a podcast as well too. There's this one author I follow called Keith Ferrazzi, and he has a couple books, Never Eat Alone, a lot of things on relationship building. And one question he threw out there is, who is the 5 most important relationships that you need to nurture to achieve your goals and dreams in the next year? And that kind of blew my mind because I even focused on any relationships to help to get to my goals and big dreams. Most of us aren't. We're not really planning and being intentional with the people we're trying to do, the people that would get us there, the people that can help us, support us. So it's kind of a question I want to throw out to you guys, and I think I have in the forum. What relationships do you need to really nurture to get to the next level? And they're definitely people that you want to put on this contact list. They could be colleagues, they could be supervisors, they could be external ones. You could be coaches, mentors, friends, family. These relationships are key to you, and how do you stay in touch with them is important too, and having a game plan to reconnect with them and meet with them regularly. Sometimes we don't do that. We don't take the time. And I understand the last couple of years have been an anomaly. So we're not on our game. We're just starting to get back out there. We're starting to network in person in some areas, so being at these big events again and going out and networking feels probably a little awkward because we haven't been doing it, but we're forgetting how important it is to be in person and network, and also to network in all different ways. We have so many different things at our disposal. I think the last couple of years got us all really on social more than we ever have, on LinkedIn and Facebook, and really interacting that way. There's been a lot of webinars and different, societies getting together on Zoom. But we still need to make sure that we're doing all the different activities because everybody likes to be communicated and have relationships in a different way. I'm still a person that loves calling people, even though people don't like picking up the phone. It's kind of crazy now that people text you to say, can I call you? Because that calling has kind of become like intrusion a little bit. But I still love calling people. I still do. But I'm a big texter, of course, as well, because you can't not be. But, sending emails, interacting and giving value to your relationships is really important. And one person that I always include on my relationship building kind of contact list is a connector. Somebody that I really think always has an outstanding network. They're probably leaders in their industry. They're well known for something in their circles. They have a natural gift of connecting with people. I try to find a couple of those because they're always great to point you in the right direction when you need advice or input from somebody. They'll be like, you need to connect with this person. You need to talk to this person. And if there's a person in your life that is like that, you definitely need to try to spend more time with them because you're going to get so many great nuggets of information. So I know these are probably all concepts that, in HR, you're leading teams and telling them to have relationships within the firms, but make sure you do that to yourself. Have relationships within your firm, outside their firms, and make sure you make the right relationships and develop them, strengthen them, because relationships are so important these days more than ever. And you'll never know what comes out of them. So figure out what connections you need. And part of these connections, these are relationships, could be with mentors and coaches. I think a lot of people, I realized as I became a coach 3.5 years ago, that a lot of people do not know what a coach is compared to a mentor. So I wanted to put the definition on the screen so you really have that in front of you. And so a mentor is more directive. It's somebody that you're going to get advice from, something from your past experience, from their past experience that's going to help you with what you're working on now or a future goal, which is very great. And you need to have mentors. They're very important in your life. I think people should have multiple mentors in all different capacities. Maybe you need something in a certain industry, maybe somebody with, a different role that you've never done that you're striving to. You might have a mentor in the real estate industry because you're going to be, moving soon. You need to have all different mentors that you can tap into for different goals of your life. Now, a coach is a little different. They're helping you along your journey to figure out what you want. So it's non-directive. It's a thought-provoking process through powerful question and inspiring to really have you figure out what you want to do and what your next step are. They're kind of guiding you on the path. Both are important. And sometimes people use coaching throughout life or throughout, a role when they're in a leadership. Sometimes it's just to meet a certain goal. I think both of them are important. And I love how a lot of companies are bringing coaching into the workforce, and they might have an internal coaching program. In some cases they don't, then they have to, use external coaches, and you might see that within your organization. I think in the future, you're going to see more coaching on internal staffing, because I do think coaching is, techniques needed within all leadership style. And, I do trainings on igniting coaching cultures because I just think it's so impactful being that kind of leader. And so both of them are important, and you need both of them really to, take it to the next level in your journey and your big dream journey. So figuring out the mentors that you have and the coaches that when you need that to bring them in. Another thing is your mentors might change over time, which some people don't even realize. Like maybe you met a goal and that mentor did amazing to you, but maybe you need somebody else, somebody in a different industry or a different mindset or a different exposure, and you need to change it. Doesn't mean you're not going to talk to your other mentor, but maybe you don't need to talk to them as much on this topic, and it's more becoming a friendship. And I know a lot of people don't actually have the conversation, ask somebody to be their mentor. I know that's kind of sometimes, not somebody, somebody uses somebody as a mentor, but not makes that official connection. And sometimes doing that makes it even a more worthwhile relationship and, encounter. So I do encourage you guys to go out there and find mentors, put them on your contact list, and start developing, relationships with them, and then also using them on your big goal journey. And, you might be saying, I don't want to bother people, but you can always give back. One of my favorite books is by Adam Grant called Give and Take. And I think you really need to figure out how to, give, and you'll see that people want to give back. So usually the people you're asking for to be your mentor, you probably have given to them so much more. And just asking for that is actually a gift as well, too, being a mentor to them. So definitely think we should definitely realize that. Both of these are very powerful. Both help you develop your goals, meet your goals, and have peak performance along the way. So if anybody wants to share about mentorship they had in the past that got them over something, or coaching experience, or how their firm is really implementing coaching within the organization, I love to hear about it, because it is kind of a big push that I'm seeing, that, coaching has come a long way in the last couple of years, especially with burnout and everybody, needing to help with, the change in how work is today and how future work is changing. So many people are, was working from home, working remotely, and now they have to go back to the office. There's a lot of changing pieces in the work world right now, and HR is dealing with it a lot. So you might see that a lot of coaching has been happening on the leadership side, and different executives and different things along those lines, to help combat everything changing so fast in the world today.
So Melissa, I have a question about how meditation for leadership integrates some of the principles of meditation and mindfulness into the mentoring and coaching process, either from your experiences, or Steve, maybe you want to comment. Can you just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'll get started, and Steve can definitely chime in. I know with the coaching and the executive coaching with the mindfulness piece put in, it's really educating people on, dealing with both at the same time, working on their professional leadership development and also enhancing their mindfulness along the process. I know with a lot of my clients, the biggest thing is trying to show up as your best self. And I think adding in mindfulness and meditation does that. I'm a big component for mindful minutes. Adding in mindfulness throughout the day to keep kind of that battery going within your mindfulness, and really disrupting that stress that you have. Of course, a full meditation does that, wonders for that, but sometimes not everybody can start right at that point. Sometimes you need to start with these little small bites. So a lot of that starts in the beginning if you're a beginner meditator, or if you've not done meditation at all. So there is mindfulness, easy ways that we can bring that into our life. Steve, do you want to add into that a little bit?
Just, one of the things that, we experience is that a lot of people are turned off by the word meditation, or they think they can't meditate because they have a misunderstanding of what meditation is. And in our programs, both sort of one-on-one as well as our group programs, the first thing we try and do is demystify, those words, meditation and mindfulness, and then really sort of get to the core. And really at its heart, it's a sort of self-empowerment skill building, right? So, once we can demystify it and overcome people's barriers to considering it, we really find that the feedback on the results is tremendous.
Thanks, Steve. We have a question or a comment from Clayton Platt, one of our attendees here today. Clayton, do you want to let us know what you're thinking?
Sure, Scott. Thank you so much. I just wanted to add one thing into the mix with the mentor and the coach. There's another concept which I think can be really helpful for us to keep in mind as we're sort of navigating our career and we're giving advice to other folks who are navigating careers, and that's looking for sponsors, right? So the mentor and the coach are either directive or non-directive in terms of helping, but the sponsor is someone that who just has your best interest in mind and is a door opener. So that's just another thing to sort of keep in mind in terms of the people that we surround ourselves with as we kind of navigate our careers.
Thank you, Clayton.
Yeah, that was a great add-in. Definitely, that's something I should probably talk about more. You're totally right. Sponsorship's important as well, too, as we continue to strive to go to the next level. One time I did this presentation and somebody also talked about reverse mentorship, having people with less experience going to them for their perspective, because they have, the age difference, sometimes experience difference. They might point something out that we miss, or they have some technology that we don't even know that we could use that would be helpful in our path forward. I used to work for a firm where everybody that we hired was between 25 and 32. And I was actually a little older than that. So I had all these resources younger than me that I could tap into and really get their perspective on things. And I realized I learned so much from them. And that's where I kind of started my coaching of asking for advice and seeing, what would you do for this? Asking powerful questions, because I realized they have so much to give in the process, and giving my active listening skills. I didn't even know I was developing these skills before I was doing coaching, but when you're asking for advice and you show how you value their opinion, and you're getting some great information back and some ideas, even if you knew the answer, you're making them feel better about asking for the advice, and then really listening to that person. And then, a lot of times we're moving so quick, we might not even realize we're not listening to them. So we need to really do that active listening as well too. Perfect. And that kind of goes in, we started talking about this, but my fifth one is mindfulness, infusing mindfulness and meditation practice for greater individual leadership and to show up as your best self. I feel like this is kind of needed so you can strengthen all of the other ones. If you're not in the present moment right now, and really being with that person, you're thinking about what you did right before that conversation or what you're doing this tonight, then you're not present. You're not really listening. You're not being there with that person. And that's not going to allow you to strengthen your relationships. You're not self-aware at that point. You're not able to use the skills, you're probably your unique abilities in that conversation, because you're not truly there. So this is really kind of the milestone of all of them that you need. For me, I think that's kind of so powerful. And I know we talked a little bit about meditation, and there's probably some people out there that, this is not for me. And I just did a whole presentation on mindfulness to a whole group that nobody has never meditated. And I didn't know that was the group I was going into. And I kind of took it with mindful minutes, talking about how you can take these breaks throughout the day. And by the end of it, I said, do you guys think you could do some mindfulness now? And everybody raised their hand. So there's things that you do every day that you don't even know that you're being mindful, that if you start practicing them regularly, you're going to see totally different things. Like I talked about active listening, really being present in a conversation with that person. You're practicing mindfulness. Of course, the breathing, any kind of breathing, even if it's only breathing for a minute, that is meditation, mindfulness minute. There's tons of exercises. You can do mindfulness when you're walking and really observe the detail when you're walking around. I start my day mindfully with enjoying a cup of coffee out on my lanai every day. Luckily, I'm in Florida now, so I can do that still. In Philadelphia, I don't know what I would be doing at that moment, if I'm can't do my ritual all the time there. But I love that moment, being outside in the sun and just enjoying my coffee. Another outside the box way you can practice mindfulness is how you're going to show up every day. I actually have a mindful to-do list, or instead of to-do list, a to-be list, I should say. So today I'm going to be more of an active listener, because I know I'm going to have to talk to somebody about, something that's going on that's really tough for them. And maybe you need to show up in a different way, more empathetic. Maybe you have to show up with more confidence because you're doing a presentation. Figuring out how you want to show up that day, or maybe you have a theme for the week, that's being mindful. So there's all different ways that you can practice mindfulness that might work for you. There's mindful stretching. We're all sitting all day, right? We're in front of a computer. We definitely should be moving, and even doing concentrating stretching for a minute helps you with your stress relief that you get from mindfulness. So I definitely encourage that, stretching a little bit here and there. There's all these different ways of doing it. And you're starting to see that corporations are changing their meeting times. They're giving people time to go from one activity to another. You need that spaciousness. You need time to relax and really absorb just what happened and be ready to go into the next meeting. So you'll see 25-minute meetings or 50-minute meetings instead of the full hour, instead of the half an hour. All of them are really helping you have that spaciousness and have a true break. I did a presentation on mindfulness to all HR leaders at the conference in Florida here for SHRM. And we were talking about this, and a lot of them raised their hands and said they can't even take a couple minutes to go to the restroom. They're so busy with Zoom meetings. We need to really figure out as HR community how to take care of ourselves. And mindfulness can help us do that. If we really do that and start putting spaciousness and thinking about ourselves in all different ways, we need to make sure we make time for ourselves so we can be a better leader for ourselves and for others. as well too. So this is,
Melissa, I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
I'm saying this is my favorite out of all five. I just want to say, but go ahead.
So we have one of our participants, Melissa, I think it's Gabalon. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. If we can unmute Melissa, why don't you tell us about your experience with coaching? Can we unmute
Okay.
her?
I think he just unmuted me.
Oh, okay. Hi,
Yes.
Melissa.
Hi, it's Gabion, but that's okay.
Gabion.
You're
All
not the
right.
first person, I'm sure not the last to
I'm
not pronounce
sorry.
it correctly. That's okay. So, it's interesting, Melissa, that you're sharing a lot of this information because about, I guess, a year and a half ago, I kind of went through this process because I was looking, as some of us have done through the pandemic, your what you want out of life changes. And so I kind of realized that I just could not continue at the pace or the path that I was going. And a colleague, I guess, from my company who worked at a corporate level, she had gotten laid off because of the pandemic, and she had done some soul searching and found that she wanted to go into coaching. So she was taking a coaching course, and she had asked if I would be one of her test subjects. And so I was actually using her as a true coach. And some of the questions, Melissa, that you asked, she asked me. And it was just so eye-opening to actually admit to another human being out loud, not just in my mind, that I didn't want to do what I was doing anymore, and I needed to make a change. And in talking kind of through what I wanted, and I'm not someone who is comfortable asking for anything, but really becoming very familiar with what I wanted in my next job, and what was important to me, helped me actually literally find like the job of my dreams. So I left a job that I had been at for 22 years. Literally, I had worked there for 22 years, and took a chance, all because of coaching. So it works. I'll just say that.
I was just going to say that it does work. You took my line. I love it. Yeah. And that you were out of your comfort zone, right? 22 years you're working somewhere, and taking that, I feel like I work with a lot of executives or people that have long-term time and a role. And that's the hardest thing, kind of jumping from a company that you were true to for a long period of time and doing something different. But you got to follow different paths and really listen to yourself, and find that passion. What's going to get you out of the bed in the morning, right? What you want to do in your life. And it seems like you found that. I'm so happy to hear that. A lot of people go to coaching when they career transition and they don't know what they want, really can help you get clarity. And sometimes you're talking and you can't hear what you're saying, but you need somebody else to point it out to you.
And just saying it out loud,
Yeah.
actually helps. And I'm still doing HR, but in a different industry and at a different level. And so it's, I love HR, so I would not want to leave HR, but just couldn't continue at the pace and the path that I was going. So it was wonderful.
I think that's great. I'm working with an HR professional, a human resource business partner who just knows she wants to do something different. She wants to figure out how to get to another space in HR that she's not in right now, and what she needs to get there, be exposed to, the upskilling we were talking about that really will get her, her resume and her experience and exposure and leadership to the right level to get there. And it seems like, you were able to do that with what you had. And sometimes we have the skills and we just don't know how to express them, or that we're really already doing that and just how to portray that in a different way and have a different mindset about what we're doing. So it's great stuff.
Thank you, Melissa, both Melissas. So I just wanted to remind you, Melissa, our presenter, that we have about 5 minutes left to, make sure that you cover what you want to, and make sure that people know. We did post Melissa's contact information in the chat, and we've also posted Steve Cohen's information along with his company, who we partner with. And so if you need or you want to follow up with Melissa or Steve, please do so. Great stuff, great leadership principles. And Melissa, I'll let you kind of make your final observation. Steve, did you have something?
Well, or do you want to end with an exercise? So since we have a few minutes, either you, Melissa, or either one of us could just lead the group and we could just let them go with an exercise.
Yeah, we can do that. I have two quick things I can wrap up and then you can do the exercise, Steve. How about that? It was just funny how Melissa was saying saying it out loud. And I have a stat up here. You need to be intentional about all of these things that we talked about today. You might not want to tackle all of these, but the ones you do want to tackle from what I talked about, pick one area possibly. If you think you could pick other ones, figure out what you want to focus on and share it with the world. If you share the goal, your way of achieving it goes up to 65%. And if you have a mentor and coach helping you along the way, it goes up to 95%. So coaching does work. And if you have to be passionate about the goal and ready to put the work in, and just, we all know about SMART goals and everything along those lines. So use them, write them down, start working towards it, find that accountability partner and figure out which one of these 5 things that you want to work on to help your empowerment journey. So go ahead, Steve, I'll let you go.
Okay. So I'd like everyone, if you're willing, to just sit upright, put your feet on the floor, sit up straight. And what we're doing is we're signaling to ourselves that we're doing something a little bit differently. We're gonna enter a slightly different level of consciousness. If you wear glasses, take off your glasses. You're not gonna need those for our little exercise within. And start to just notice how you feel today, maybe how your body feels, any emotion that you're feeling, any discomfort. Just notice. And notice as you feel or hear yourself breathing, there's no need to change your breath, just notice your breath. As you inhale, pause, exhale, pause. What is your empowerment goal? First thing that pops into your mind. If it takes a few moments, take a few more breaths. What is your empowerment goal? Who can help you get there? Who needs your help? First, see what pops into your mind. Who needs your help? When you're ready, open your eyes. These little micro practices are so important. And when you have a coach, they'll obviously lead you through these practices yourself. In our group sessions, we're able to lead people through these practices. Share some of these practices, some of the things that you've learned today. We've been saying that the ripple starts with you. One of the amazing things about some of these practices is that people don't need to know that you're practicing mindfulness or anything else. They just see the expression of what you're putting out there, and they respond to that. So it's really wonderful if you're in a position to share these things, within your organization, can really help transform your organization.
Thanks, Steve. So want to thank again Melissa and Steve. Really appreciate everything that you guys have contributed today. You can see Melissa's contact information is there, Meditation for Leadership website, and Melissa's offering a free 30-minute consultation. If you contact her, she can send you the link to her calendar. You can also see that there. But we'll send you the slides so you'll have a chance to review those, and you can contact myself, Melissa, Steve, and really have a great day today and practice mindfulness and try to just, take it easy and think about your aspirations in life. So thank you guys.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.